The research dome felt colder than usual. Kale stood alone at the control sphere. His team waited behind him in silence. They had seen enough to know the next step carried weight. Kale touched the deepest timeline marker. He sent the model racing back to the first breath of complex life. 700 million years ago, Earth still young and violent. Oceans glowed green with simple cells. Land sat bare and cracked. No air moved with oxygen yet. The sphere showed a single supercontinent surrounded by endless water. Thick microbial mats coated every shallow sea. They grew without limit. They locked carbon away. They poisoned the water with their own waste. Nothing challenged them. Nothing ate their excess. The world headed towards slow suffocation. Then the first flicker appeared. Tiny worm-like forms twisted through the mats. They had no eyes, no real brains, yet they moved with strange purpose. They bored tunnels. They dragged pieces of mat to the surface. They exposed buried layers to light. And current oxygen bubbled up. New cells bloomed. The mats thinned just enough. Kale froze the view. He zoomed so close, the worms filled the sphere. "Look," he said, "no instinct drives random behavior. These things select. They target the thickest spots. They keep paths open. They act like antibodies." Lyra stepped forward. She ran analysis. The data confirmed it. The worms changed the chemistry on purpose. They triggered cascades that saved the seas. The team watched the timeline crawl forward. Each new era brought fresh defenders. When mats threatened again, different forms rose. Some crawled, some swam, some burrowed. Each carried sharper tools. Each killed more efficiently. Each left marks that matched every later pruner. The code stayed the same. Hunt the dominant, starve the overgrowth, preserve variety at any cost. Kale spoke to the council link. His voice carried to every station in the sector. "We have the full picture now. Earth is not a passive cradle. It is a living fortress. It builds killers when needed. It evolves weapons from whatever exists. Stone, shell, bone, mind. It does not care about the shape, only the function. Prune or perish." The council members appeared as small holograms. They listened without interrupting. One elder asked the question, "What does this mean for humans?" Kale answered direct. "Humans are the current expression. They carry the oldest instinct. They burn forests, they hunt herds, they farm and clear. They wage war on anything too comfortable. They do it without knowing why. The planet whispers in their blood. Grow too strong, and I will send something to cut you down." Another counselor spoke. "Can the system be stopped?" Kale shook his head. "Stopping it kills the world. We saw the proof. Remove every pruner from the start. The planet races to heat death. No recovery, no reset, only final gray silence." The holograms flickered. The elder spoke again. "Then humanity serves a purpose beyond themselves. They are the latest immune response." Kale agreed. "Here. The system learns. Each cycle the pruners grow smarter, more ruthless, more creative. From blind worms to pack hunters to thinking apes. The next version could be worse, or better at killing, depending on what threatens most." The sphere showed the present layer. Cities glowed. Roads cut the land. Smoke rose high. Humans spread fast. They reshaped everything, yet the old balance held. Species vanished, but new ones adapted. Forests regrew in places men left. Oceans fought back against poison. The planet still trusted its current tool. Kale turned to his team. "We must decide what to tell the galaxy. Do we share this truth? Do we warn that Earth breeds horrors on purpose? Do we admit any advanced species that tries to pacify a living world, risks waking its defense?" Lyra answered quiet. "If we stay silent, another race might repeat our mistake. They might try to garden Earth gentle. They might remove the pruners. Then the planet dies and takes everything with it. Torv added his thought. They might try to become the new pruners. They might think they can do it better. Then Earth turns on them too. The council elders spoke final words. Send the full data packet. Let every world decide for themselves. But mark it urgent. Label it existential hazard. The galaxy must know. Some planets need blood to breathe. Kale closed the link. He looked at the glowing sphere one last time. Inside it, Earth spun on, beautiful and savage, full of life because it never stopped killing. He felt no joy, only cold understanding. Humans were not the monsters. They were the necessary monsters. The latest in a chain that stretched back to the first cell. A chain that would continue long after humans faded. Something new would rise. Something sharper. Something hungrier. The station lights dimmed. The sphere kept its soft glow. It watched the tiny blue world. It watched the endless hunt. It waited for the next quiet age, the next overgrowth, the next moment when peace felt safe. Then the planet would stir. Again. It would sharpen new teeth. It would send new killers, and the cycle would roll on forever. The Zereth turned away. They carried the scary truth home, a truth no one asked for, a truth no one wanted. Earth did not need saving. It needed constant war, and it always found soldiers, willing or not, ready or not. The horror kept the world alive. Kale ordered the deepest rewind yet. The team pushed the simulation back past every known layer. They went to the very edge of stable records, before flowering plants ruled, before birds filled the sky, before even the first four-legged walkers left tracks. The sphere darkened as time reversed. Colors faded to strange greens and purples. Oceans looked thick and oily. Land steamed under constant rain. They stopped at 400 million years ago. Life crawled from water onto mud. Plants grew short and tough. No trees yet, no flowers, only moss and fern-like things spread slow. Small jointed creatures scuttled in shallows. Some developed simple jaws, some learned to bite harder. The team watched careful. At first everything seemed calm. Life spread steady. Then the first warning flickered. Plant mats grew thick along coasts. They locked up light and air. Water turned sour with rot. Fish died in clouds. Shorelines turned black. Kale zoomed close. He searched for any sign of disturbance. Moved at first. Then he saw it. A cluster of small shelled things. They looked like trilobites but different. They carried sharp bits of stone in their claws. They scraped at the thick mats. They broke them open. They ate the soft insides. More of them gathered. They cleared patches. Light reached the water again. Algae bloomed fresh. Fish returned. The team stared silent. Tor spoke first. Those are not natural feeders. They choose what to cut. They keep the mats thin. Lyra checked the data logs. No mistake. The marks match later tool use. Clean, deliberate cuts. Purpose clear. They followed this group forward. The shelled pruners spread along coasts. Wherever they went, the mats stayed balanced. Where they stayed away, the rot grew deep. Dead zones formed. Life retreated. The pattern held even here. Kale felt his pulse quicken. He ordered another jump back. 520 million years. The Cambrian explosion still echoed. Strange bodies swam in warm seas. Some looked like worms with legs. Looked like living shields. One small kind caught their eyes. They moved in tight schools. They carried pointed shell fragments. They stabbed into thick bacterial mats. They tore holes. They let oxygen mix deeper. Without them, the mats sealed everything. Seas turned still and dead. The scientists ran the test again. Remove the stabbers. The oceans choked fast. Add them back, balance returned. The same job, different tools. Same merciless pruning. They kept going deeper. 600 million years, life barely clung to rocks. Slimy films covered stone. Some tiny round things rolled across the film. They had sharp edges. They rolled and cut. They kept paths open. Sunlight reached below. Simple cells breathed. Without the rollers, the film grew thick. Everything smothered. Layer after layer, the truth grew sharper. Every time life started to dominate, every time one form grew too strong, a new pruner appeared. Always small at first, always armed with whatever lay around. Stone, shell, spine, tooth. They hunted the excess. They burned the buildup. They killed the comfortable. They saved the world from itself. Kale stopped the rewind. He looked at his team. His voice shook a little. This is not evolution playing nice. This is a system, a defense built into the planet. Whenever growth threatens to kill the whole, something wakes, something sharpens claws, something starts the slaughter. It never stops, it never rests. Lyra pulled up the final overlay. She showed every pruner line on one map. Lines cross time, different bodies, same red color for kills, same blue for controlled burns, same green for saved balance. The map looked like veins, like arteries pumping death to keep life alive. Torv asked the question no one wanted. What happens if we remove them all? Every single one from the start. Kale hesitated. Then he gave the order. Clear them. All of them. The sphere flickered. Every pruner vanished. No rollers, no stabbers, no scrapers, no fire starters, no pack hunters, nothing. At first the model was done. Exploded with life. Colors burst bright. Plants climbed high. Animals grew huge. Seas filled wall to wall. Then the tipping came. Mats sealed oceans. Rot rose thick. Air turned poison. Heat trapped fast. Ice never formed right. Storms raged wild. Everything grew too much. Then everything died. The sphere showed a runaway greenhouse. Oceans boiled red with algae. Land baked black. No recovery. No second chance. Only silence. Kale spoke soft. That is what Earth fears most. Not humans, not asteroids, not volcanoes. It fears peace. It fears no killers. It fears the day nothing hunts. The team watched the dead world. They saw the buried data still there. Cut marks in deepest stone. Burn rings in oldest coal. Mass graves with no disease. All signs of the endless gardeners. All proof the planet built its own immune system. Layer upon layer. Iteration after iteration. Lyra broke the quiet. Humans are just the latest model. They carry the same code, the same drive. Hunt, burn, cull, keep going. And if we ever let the system stabilize, if we ever remove the last pruner, the planet dies for good. The scientists felt cold terror. They had come for knowledge. They found dread. The sphere glowed on. It showed a world that needed horror to live. A world that bred killers on purpose. A world that would keep doing it forever. Outside the station, stars watched indifferent. Inside the dome, the truth sat heavy. The Zerath knew now. They had touched something scary. Something older than stars. Something that laughed at peace. Something waiting for the next quiet moment to sharpen its teeth again. The team gathered around the control sphere once more. Kale stood in the center with arms crossed tight. His voice came low and firm. We stop guessing now. We test the one variable we avoided from the start. We bring in the shadow of early humans. Not full people yet. Just their small actions. Fire sticks, stone edges, group hunts. We add these pressures lightly. We watch what changes. Lyra adjusted the input sliders. She set the mimic factors to appear in scattered places. Small bands of tool users moved through the model. They lit fires to clear brush. They sharpened rocks to cut meat. They drove herds over cliffs in planned chases. Nothing looked advanced. No villages rose. No farms appeared. Only quiet, constant pruning. The simulation ran forward at medium speed. At first, the changes stayed small. Then the graphs began to shift. Predator numbers steadied. No more sudden drops. Plant eaters stayed in check. They grazed wide areas but never stripped them bare. Fires spread in controlled patches. Forests mixed old giants with young saplings. Grasslands rolled thick and green. Oceans cleared as fish schools grew balanced. The whole sphere breathed easy. Torv stared wide-eyed. "It works," he said. "Remove the mimic humans and watch." They pulled the factors out. Within moments the cracks returned. Apex hunters boomed, then starved. Herbivores overate, then died in masses. Land turned barren in spreading rings. Balance vanished fast. The model collapsed in under 50,000 virtual years. Kale spoke again. "Run it side by side. One with the shadow presence, one without." Two spheres floated now. The left one lived vibrant and strong. The right one sickened and died. The difference screamed clear. Earth needed constant pressure, needed something to kill the excess, needed a force that hunted without pause. Lyra whispered the thought aloud. Humans did not break the world. They fixed it. They became the missing part, the gardener we could not find. Kale nodded slow. But who taught them? Who set the book? Pattern first. They pushed the timeline back further, past the mimic humans, past the bone piles with cut marks. They searched for the earliest signs, layers peeled away like old pages. In a warm, wet time before great ice ages, strange creatures roamed. Some walked on two legs. Some carried simple branches. They used fire in small rings. They cracked bones for marrow. They left trails of ash and chipped stone. The patterns matched. Where these early walkers moved, the land stayed healthy. Where they stayed away, overgrowth choked rivers. Monsters grew too large and ate everything. Then they starved. Then the soil washed to sea. The same story repeated, again and again. Tor found an older layer. He pointed excited. "Look here," he said. 60 million years back. No mammals yet rule. Reptiles fill every niche. A small group appears. They look like clever lizards. They carry sharp stones tied to sticks. They set grass fires on purpose. They hunt in packs with planned traps. Humans, exact same effect. Land stays mixed. Species stay many. No single kind takes over. Kale felt his breath catch. This cannot be chance. The behavior repeats across time. Different bodies, same purpose. Prune, cull, burn, kill the too successful. Keep the world from choking itself. They zoomed deeper, found another echo, 120 million years ago. Tiny furry things scurry under dinosaur feet. Some of them gather dry leaves. Some pile them and spark flame with stones. Some chase smaller prey in groups. Again the land around them stays balanced. Without them the forests grow dark and still. Giant plants strangle everything. Then rot piles high. Then disease spreads. Then collapse comes. Layer after layer showed the same. A persistent killer appeared. Not always the same shape. Not always the same tools. But always the same job. Cut back the strong. Protect the weak. Stop the runaway growth. Stop the planetary cancer. Lyra spoke quiet. It looks like Earth builds its own defense. Time. Life grows too comfortable. Too big. Too dominant. Something wakes up. Something starts killing. Something keeps the balance bloody. Kale stared at the glowing sphere. His mind raced. We thought humans were the problem. Latecomers who ruined paradise. Now, it seems different. They joined a long line. A line of killers. A line that stretches back forever. Each one born when needed. Each one shaped to hunt without rest. They ran one final test. They removed every mimic presence, every shadow of the pruners, from the deepest past to the present. The model started bright. Life exploded in color. Huge creatures roamed, towering plants reached for sky, seas boiled with monsters. Then the tipping point came. Growth outran death. Nutrients locked in dead trunks. Oceans filled with rotting mats. Air turned thick and hot. Everything choked. Everything died slow. The sphere turned gray and quiet. Kale turned to the team. This is the truth we feared. Earth does not want endless peace. Endless peace kills it. It needs pain. It needs death. It needs us, or something like us, to keep cutting. The scientists stood silent. They watched the dead model. No wind moved. No sound came. Only stillness remained. Outside the station, the real stars burned cold. Inside the dome, the sphere held its secret. A secret written in bones and ash. A secret older than time. The Zareth felt small now. They had come to study humans. Instead, they found something bigger. Something that used humans. Something that used everything before humans. Something that refused to let the world die easy. Kale spoke one last time before the shift ended. Tomorrow we look at the very first cut. The one that started the chain. The one that proves it all. The lights dimmed. The sphere glowed on, waiting for the next deep dive. Waiting to show more blood, more fire, more truth. The warning lights stayed on for many shifts. Kale ordered the team to slow the simulation speed. They wanted to catch every small change. The dead planes from before still sat empty. Dust blew across them in endless loops. No rain came to wash the cracks away. The scientists felt uneasy watching that silence. Lyra brought new data to the main table. She pointed at lines that climbed, then fell sharp. "Look at the predator counts," she said. "In most areas, the big cats and wolves drop fast. Too fast for normal reasons. Food stays plenty at first. Then suddenly, nothing hunts anymore." Kale studied the graphs. He saw the same pattern repeat in forests and mountains. Apex hunters vanished one after another. No disease showed in the records. No big floods drowned them. They just stopped existing. Another scientist named Torv spoke up. "Maybe the model lacks something small, a hidden factor we forgot." Kale shook his head. "We built this from real Earth data. Every plant, every bug, every weather pattern matches old records. Nothing misses, yet the system acts sick." They ran side tests. One version kept extra moisture in the air. Another added more lightning strikes. A third gave extra nutrients to soil. In every test, the same thing happened. Predators faded. Plant eaters grew too many. They ate everything green. Then they starved in huge numbers. The land turned to dust or mud. Balance never came back. Kale decided to push further. He told the team to speed up again. "Let us see what happens after 10,000 years of collapse." The sphere spun faster. Seas turned cloudy with dead plants. Fish died in warm, shallow water. Birds stopped flying over empty fields. Only small rats and insects moved in the ruins. Then a strange thing appeared. In one small corner of the model, a forest patch stayed alive. Tall trees still stood. Small deer grazed under them. Wolves hunted there in small packs. The numbers held steady. No crash came. Kale zoomed in close. He searched for the difference. Fires had burned that area many times. Each fire cleared old dead wood. New grass grew after. Animals moved through the fresh land. They kept plants from growing too thick. The place looked healthy. Kale showed the others. "See this spot," he said. "It survives because something keeps cutting it back. Something removes extra growth. Without that cut, the whole world dies." Lyra asked what could do that. No big storms reach there. No giant floods wash through. Kale answered quiet. "Something selective. Something that chooses what to kill." The team felt a chill. They knew no natural force acted so careful. Yet the data showed clear. Healthy spots always had signs of disturbance. Burned patches, broken branches, trampled paths, piles of bones from sudden kills. Always the same pattern. Disturbance kept life strong. They labeled the missing force placeholder persistence factor. They added it as an automatic rule. Whenever growth went too far, the model removed some plants and animals. The whole sphere looked alive again. Forests mixed tall and short trees. Grasslands rolled with herds. Oceans stayed full of life. The scientists smiled for the first time in many shifts. Torf said, "We fixed it. Kale did not smile. He stared at the control panel. "This fix feels wrong," he said. "We force balance with a fake rule. Real Earth never needed our help. Something else kept it going. Something we have not found." They turned off the fake rule. The model ran without help. Within moments the cracks appeared again. Predators dropped. Prey boomed, then crashed. Land died in patches. The sphere turned sick once more. Kale ordered a new test. He said, "Add back the persistence factor, but make it random. No pattern, just chance removal." The team did it. The results stayed bad. Random cuts helped a little, but big crashes still came. The system needed smart cuts. Cuts that knew which plants grew too much, which animals ate too fast. Lyra spoke soft. "It acts like a gardener who pulls weeds before they choke everything." Kale nodded slow. "But no gardener lives in this model. No thinking mind exists. Yet the pattern screams intelligence." They dug into older layers of the simulation. They looked at times much further back, before large mammals ruled, when strange reptiles walked, when oceans held monsters with long necks. In those deep times the same signs waited: sudden kills, controlled burns from lightning that struck perfect spots, herds thinned just enough, never too much, never too little. Tor found the first real clue. He called everyone over. "Look at this bone pile," he said. "It sits in a riverbank from 50 million years ago. The bones show cut marks, sharp, clean cuts, not from teeth, not from claws. Something made tools, something used fire, something culled the land long before humans." The team stood silent. They checked the dates again. The marks matched no known species. No dinosaur made those cuts. No early mammal carried that skill. Yet the evidence sat plain. Older than thought had shaped Earth. A force that pruned without mercy. Kale felt his skin tighten. He spoke to the group. "We thought humans came late. We thought they changed a wild world. Now it looks different. The world needed killers from the start. Something always hunted. Something always burned. Something kept the balance with blood." The sphere kept running. Inside it the ancient bone piles waited. They held secrets the Zerath never expected. The scientists watched longer. They wrote careful notes. They feared what came next. They knew the deeper past held more. More cuts, more fires, more deaths, all done with purpose. The station lights dimmed for night cycle. Only the sphere glowed bright. It showed a living world. A world that hid its gardener well. A gardener who never slept. A gardener who scared the watchers now. The team rested uneasy. Tomorrow they would push further back. Tomorrow they would find the first true cut. The research station floated in the dark between stars. Zerath scientists gathered in the central dome. Their skin shimmered pale blue under soft lights. They stared at the huge glowing sphere in the middle of the room. Inside the sphere swam a perfect, tiny Earth. Oceans swirled. Forests spread green across continents. Mountains rose sharp and white at the peaks. No cities existed. No roads cut the land. No ships sailed the seas. Only wild animals moved through the simulation. Lead researcher Kale stood closest to the sphere. His long fingers touched the control panel. He spoke in a calm, low voice. "We begin the long watch today. Our goal remains simple. We want to know how humans survived. Their planet tried to kill them many times. Ice covered everything. Volcanoes filled the sky with ash. Giant beasts hunted them. Yet humans lived on. We remove all thinking beings from this model. We let nature run alone. We observe what happens without them." The other scientists nodded. Many cycles about this project. Some said humans changed their world too much. Others said the world shaped humans first. Now they would see the truth. The simulation started at a time long before humans appeared. Dinosaurs still walked the land in earlier versions. This one began after the great rock fell. Mammals grew bigger. Forests covered much of the world. Oceans teemed with fish and whales. Days passed in the station. Inside the sphere, centuries rushed by. Kale watched herds of giant deer move across plains. Saber cats stalked in silence. Woolly rhinos charged through snow. Birds filled the air with loud calls. Everything looked balanced. Predators killed enough prey to stay strong. Prey animals bred fast enough to replace losses. Plants grew back after fires. Rivers carried fresh water to dry lands. The numbers stayed steady. One scientist named Lyra pointed at a graph. See how the carbon levels hold. Oxygen remains perfect for large animals. No sudden crashes appear yet. Small nod. So far the model behaves as expected. Nature finds its own balance without interference. They increased the speed. Thousands of years flashed past in moments. Ice sheets grew and melted. Sea levels rose and fell. New species appeared. Old ones vanished. Still the system held. No part grew too strong. No part died out completely. Then a small warning light blinked. Kale leaned closer. A pack of dire wolves chased elk across a valley. The wolves caught many. The elk numbers dropped fast. For a short time the wolves ate well. After that the elk became few. The wolves grew hungry. Some starved. Others turned on each other. The valley became quiet. Grass grew tall with no grazers to eat it. Fires started easily in the dry stalks. The fires burned large areas. Trees died. Soil washed away in rain. The valley turned bare. Lyra frowned. That collapse happened too quick. In real records such places recovered. Kale touched another control. We watched this section closer. He slowed the time. The bare land stayed dead for many years. Nothing grew back right. Weeds choked the ground first. Then nothing else came. The soil became poor. Wind carried dust away. The valleys stayed empty. The scientists looked at each other. This result surprised them. They checked other valleys. Some places recovered slowly. Others stayed broken. The difference came from one thing. In places where smaller grazers survived the wolves, the land healed. Where all large plant-eaters died, the land died too. Kale spoke again. Perhaps balance needs many kinds of eaters, not just one strong predator. They adjusted the model. They added more kinds of deer and horses. The wolves still hunted, but now some prey escaped. The land stayed green longer. Balance returned. The team felt pleased. They wrote notes. They shared data. The project seemed on track. Humans were not needed yet. Nature handled itself. Many cycles passed. The station crew changed shifts. New scientists arrived. Old ones left for other work. Stayed. He watched every day. He noticed small, strange patterns. In some forests, trees grew very tall. They blocked light from smaller plants. Those small plants died. Then insects that lived on small plants died. Birds that ate insects became few. The tall trees stood alone. They dropped seeds. New tall trees grew. The forest became simple. Only one kind of tree. Only few animals. Kale marked this as interesting. He called it monoculture risk. He said the system still worked. It just changed form. Other scientists agreed. They kept watching. One quiet shift, Lyra returned from rest. She looked at the main display. Her eyes widened. She called Kale. Come see this. Kale walked over fast. In the simulation, a grassland stretched wide. Millions of bison moved in huge herds. They ate grass. They trampled soil. They left paths everywhere. The grass grew back thick. Flowers bloomed. Birds nested in the ground. Wolves followed the herds. They took weak ones. The herds stayed strong. Then something new appeared. Dry season lasted longer than normal. Grass turned brown. Rivers shrank. The bison wandered far for food. They found new grass in wet valleys. They moved there. The old plains stayed empty. Dead grass piled high. A spark started a fire. The fire grew huge. It raced across the plains. It burned everything. Black smoke rose high. When rain came later, the soil washed away. Gullies cut deep. Nothing grew again. Lyra whispered. It collapsed again. Kale stared at the dead land. He felt cold inside. This time no predator caused it. The system broke itself. He spoke slowly. We need to run more tests. Something hides here. Something we did not expect. The scientists gathered again. They talked late into the night cycle. They decided to keep going. They would watch closer. They would change nothing yet. They wanted to see how far the model fell. Deep in the sphere, the dead planes stayed silent. Wind blew dust across cracked earth. No footprints marked the ground. No life stirred. The simulation waited. It held. Its secret still. The Zareth kept watching. They did not know yet. The real horror waited deeper in the past. A truth much older than humans. A truth that would make them question everything. The sphere glowed on. Time rushed forward inside. Outside the station, the stars stayed cold and far.